Hi everyone, how you going? I thought we'd just have a bit of a chat again. Oh dear, so cashless debit cards still causing problems for people, and so I thought about having a bit of chat about that and answering people that are saying, I thought Labor were cancelling these cards. Well, they are, but we've still got a parliamentary process to go through, and they're doing it as fast as they can. That's all I can tell you. It's still got to go through Parliament. Yeah, what else can I say? But we had a situation with a card holder up in Bundy last week, and her card failed, and she found out it was cancelled, and big stuff around, and it's happened again. So I posted her story to the page here, and she posted to the No Cashless Debit Card Hinkler region page, because it's just getting ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy. Hi Ruth. It's just... So Shoshana here says Indu is inhumane. We already knew that. Someone at Indu keeps cancelling all of my cards. This is the 4th time this year. I was buying $5 worth of fruits from a fruit and veg shop with my daughter, who was really excited to pick them out and push her little trolley around. Imagine her disappointment when I had to put back the fruit that she'd picked out. It was such an embarrassing situation. I checked my account and it was full too. I swear I nearly burst into tears right there and then. This is humiliation that it causes when it declines, you know, but it's not fair on the kids either, you know. Later, I gave them a very upset call, which they apologised and said they don't know why someone keeps cancelling her card. I'm so sick of this. I'm just a mum trying to get by. I'm in between jobs trying to work around my husband's hours. I can't handle the cost of fuel. Food insecurity is through the roof. There's no money left after each pay for self-care, so that's out of the question. All right? To have to turn around to my 2-year-old daughter and confused, disappointed, upset her in public, it was awful. I don't do drugs, I don't even drink, and I've never gambled. I've always been honest about my earnings to Centrelink, and I've made sure to have a job or be contributing to the community in some way. I don't deserve this, no one does. This is our money, money we are legally entitled to. What does my 2-year-old have to do to earn some fruit for her lunch? What do I have to do to prove the government so that I can pay my bills? Our family are taxpayers. I've been working since I was age 16 and my husband 14. This card makes it nearly impossible to save for a mortgage and apparently buy fruit. All right? I won't go on the rest of her comment, because basically she says, what's even more screwed up is people that she knows who actually do drink and gamble and have addictions can still use their 20% that you're allowed in cash. The card does not work. In regards to people with addictions and other things like that, that comment there, I just need to say that it's not illegal for everybody in this country who's over 18 years of age to better buy alcohol or gamble, all right? And yeah, they can do it with their 20%. But the card was never about drugs, alcohol, or gambling. We know that. It was a smokescreen to basically brand everybody the same. And while they privatised the social security payments so that shareholders and stakeholders could make a profit. You know, it sucks. Look, the card is ending soon. That's all I can say to people. It's getting there. I don't know when. All right, Parliament's now back. As soon as we find out when the bill is posted, we'll notify everybody. But everybody keeps saying, I thought the card was cancelled. It's like, no. And when people say that, basically they're just dismissing the fact that there's still nearly 17,000 people on these cards. All right? It's like, well, it's over now. Forget it. You know, I've had people come at me on TikTok. Why am I still discussing it if it's finished? you know, because it's not finished. It's not finished until those people are off the card and they've got their lives back, right? And some people need some sort of acknowledgement and justice for their losses. You know what I mean? It's not finished yet, but it's getting there, all right? Labor aren't just going to not follow through with their promise, okay? As far as we know, there's a bill that will be tabled. We just don't know when. We don't know when. And I got a bit stroppy last week and miscommunication with a staffer that was new, right? Didn't know what he was talking about. Didn't help. And then, and not getting any definite reply back didn't help. I can't do anything more than what we've done. You know what I mean? Except for every time somebody says, oh, but they've stopped that. You know what I mean? No, it's not finished yet. Not until the people are off the card, they've got their lives back. Then we can say it's stopped. But at the moment, while you've got people every day going through the issues with the card and it declining to buy petrol and food and things like that, and it's still declining to pay rents, it's still there. You know what I mean? It's still there. And trying to just, some people are trying to take it out of the media, I think, out of the spotlight of, but these people are still actually on the card. All right, trying to make 17,000 people invisible. It's like, oh, but Labor said they're stopping it. It's stopped. It's finished. It's over. No, but it is going to be over. We just don't have a date, okay? And as soon as we do, we'll let you know. And Amanda, SN7, as soon as the bill drops, we'll know about it. She'll break it all down for us so we know exactly what it is, right? That's all I can say. But I just hate it when there's still problems with the card. And then this lady, she's been through quite a lot in the last few months. She's been homeless. They were living in a tent, right? They became part of the housing crisis where, you know, their rental was whizzed out from underneath them by the owner. They moved to try and better themselves and get employment, and they ended up in Bundaberg. And then they got hammered by a lot of trolls for being homeless, because one of the latest things to do now, hello, is anybody who sticks their head up who's homeless, right, working or not, and tries to raise awareness about the housing crisis, is now also run over by the trolls. And this young lady has been through that with her family already. They got some temporary emergency housing, right, and stuck on the bloody cashless debit card, you know, the cherry on the cake, as if life's not hard enough. And her partner did get a job, and she did get some part-time work, but the trolls just wouldn't, you know, they just wouldn't stop. I've watched the trolls on TikTok go for this family, and it sucks what they do to them, do you know what I mean? But they go for me all day, all night as well. I must admit, it's worn me out a lot. It has worn me out a lot. Yeah, what can I say? I've tagged Amanda Rishworth and Justine Elliott in the post. But all I can say to people is start putting in the opt-out applications, people. Right? Email what's happened to you on the card to Justine Elliott and Amanda Rishworth. Okay. No, Amanda, it's not Majestic, but if you go down the page a little bit, this is Shoshana, and I've posted her post from the Hinkler page. Grace is saying to me, such a stressful thing this whole mess is. Yep. I'm at the point where I've been bottling things and holding things and carrying people's stories and carrying the stress for 7 years. And it's hard. The card is ending, okay? But I've got to try and offload everything that I've been carrying. And it's difficult. And it doesn't help. I bought some English lollies, and look, I broke out something chronic, so now I look shocking. Oh. yeah. I'm exhausted, and so is Amanda, and so most of my crew, and it just really bugs me. People keep going, oh, but the card's gone now. It's like, no, because I take that on board as, well, those people making that throwaway comment are dismissing the people that are still living on that card, and just, and what they're going through. It's not got, it can't be just gone. There's a lot to go through. And I appreciate that, yeah, they were called refreshers, Robert. They're an English lolly called refreshers. And yeah, I bought some and I ate them all. And now my skin's paying for it. English lollies have sorbets and different sugars in them. And yeah, oh well, that's life. Got to have a treat sometime. Oh dear. So, but I know that the staff are under the pump. I know that all the ministers have been having to bust their butts to get everything sorted, ready to get into Parliament, and to, I can't imagine the mess that they've got to deal with in every portfolio. It's a mess. The LNP absolutely destroyed the joint. All right. But yeah, what can I say? As soon as we know, you'll know. Oh. But I'll be happy when everybody starts sending a message, I'm off the card, I'm off the card, I'm off the card. If we can get a date or something, or work out something, we need to do something for closure when that happens as well. Because, we can't just walk away and say, oh, well, that's done now, because it's like, that was, yeah, so people start putting in your opt-outs, I think. Put card holders out there, start putting, and if you've done them before and thought it wasn't worth the effort, do it again. Do it again now. Do it. All right? And at the same time, email either Justine Elliott or Amanda Rishworth with what the card's done to your life and how it's impacted you financially, mentally, the works. Send them everything, guys. All right? That's all I can suggest to people is because, I've got a card holder at the moment, and first thing I got back was, has she done her opt-out application? She's not in a position to do it at the moment because she can't get a hold of the information that she needs to do it. All right? Not for at least another 3 weeks. So she's stuck because even the department's asking her, why hasn't she done her opt-out application? Because everything's waiting on her just doing it. But she doesn't have access to what she needs to do it. And when she does, then she's going to do it. But at the same time, the stress that she's gone through, and the ups and downs she's gone through, and the stuffing around. Because, they stuff people around. Services Australia just stuff people around. It's hit and miss, right? There is a couple of nice social workers that do work for them, but most of the time you'll get ones that have got a problem. And I did discuss that with Justine Elliott when I met her. You know what I mean? I did discuss that with her about how Services Australia was hit and miss. And Karen was able to confirm how when she first tried to go through it, the condescending attitude that she got was the first time round compared to a nice social worker the second time round who made life really easy. So, and I've had other card holders who have had good social workers that have made life easy, and I've had others that have had rotten social workers that have dragged things on for months and months and months just by being jerks and just having an attitude. You know what I mean? So it's all hit and misses on the other end of that phone the day that you pick it up. But don't give up. And to card holders out there, if you get a grumpy one, ring up the minister's office and tell them, all right, they need an attitude adjustment. Because just because you're on the card, you're no less an Australian citizen, and you don't deserve to be treated any less respectfully than anybody else who has to deal with them. So simple as that. And this is another thing that's getting me down, is the whole the trolls and all the people that hate people on social security and people picking on people on disability. It all gets me down. Do you know what I mean? But for people on the cashless debit card, that's another layer of stigma, another layer of, you know, that members of society feel entitled to stick the boot in with some people. And it's not fair. And like that young mum said today, how embarrassing in front of her 2-year-old, how disappointing for her 2-year-old who doesn't understand why she had to put her shopping back. You know? But, and you know, it's not the first time that the cards refused to buy food for somebody, all right? Or why somebody keeps cancelling this young woman's accounts. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just going to look through. Hang on. Amanda, do you want to come in and chat? Hang on. I'll send you an invite. I think I did. Yeah, I adapt myself. People on DSS themselves attacking people on cards, you know, and people on payments, and just I'm just over it. I'm just over it. I'm over the national sport of pick a poor person. You know what I mean?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, can hear you.
I just want to apologise to that poor woman with all the dicking around with her money and her cards. That is absolutely terrible. And you're absolutely right. I'll make sure that gets onto Twitter tonight. Okay, well, Parliament's all nice and fresh. People need, the stories are still continuing. I've been battling on Twitter because there are a lot of people that think that the program's ended already.
Yeah.
And I've been burning a lot of bridges and I'm prepared to burn them all if necessary, if I have to. I'm not here to make friends and to be popular. I'm here to get a job done, right? And that's what this group is for, to get a job done.
Yeah.
And so while Catherine does the nice and the calm, I've been going rank on Twitter. Isolating myself a little bit, but making sure that I keep ALP held to account and the pressure on. Now, Justine should be pretty much aware of that, because I think the last message I sent her on Twitter was, you know, we're going to hold you to account. And she absolutely agreed. She said, please do. So she wasn't running from my, you know, she wasn't running from my critique. And my only critiques have been that this lack of a timeline, this lack of information sharing, like we've... Throughout the election, Catherine and I have had regular contact with the ALP, even, you know, liaisons with caucus and things like that. So to be suddenly cut off, even though I understand that there is a necessary blanket that goes over a party right before the election and all that kind of stuff, but not to be told about the bill, not to have any communication about that kind of stuff has been incredibly frustrating for both of us. And because our recent liaison has now left his position, so he doesn't have his, you know, position anymore. And thank you to that person whom I hung up on once or twice at least. But, you know, we've got a job to do, and the job is to end the card and to ensure that Basics goes voluntary. And so the more stories that people are willing to share to get the news out there about what's really going on with Inju still, even now, the more pressure we put on ALP to bring the bill this sitting. We don't want to wait till after the October sitting. We want it now because it has to be addressed now, before Christmas. People need to know.
Yeah.
There needs to be, it's unfair and cruel to make people who are already suffering some really heavy impacts wait until, you know, December. I think that is a cruelty that should be beneath the ALP. And we were talking the other day, Catherine and I, about the reality of what Albo's mum would be facing today if Albo was on DSS. You know, firstly, her arthritis alone wouldn't have qualified her for DSP, so she'd be having to do 15 to 30 hours a week minimum, mutual obligations, now on workforce. She wouldn't have been tenured a social housing house because there's no social housing tenure anymore. So, and because Albanese is over 18, she probably would have lost her social housing, you know, or been shoved in a 1-bedroom unit at the top of a tower.
Yeah.
You know, so we understand that Anthony has an understanding of what life is like and of the struggle, but that struggle is 20 years ago, 30 years ago. All right, that struggle is not struggle today for people on JobSeeker, people on DSP, and like it was ALP that put the 20 points up there. So, you know, to make life harder for people who are dumpster diving right now, you know, we've got kids getting dressed in public toilets to go to school because mum's sleeping in the car. All right, the reality is the ALP need to jump into 2022 with us, you know, and listen to people who are at the coalface now, because yeah, they nod, but there is this sensation that you get when you talk. I don't know how it is for you, Kath, but there is a sensation that there is a gulf of understanding between 20 years ago and today. And, you know, not on every other area, but funnily enough, just on Social Security, it's like it's a dirty word. He wants to talk about it.
It's like everybody's too scared to do anything about it. I've said about it in the past to them, you know, you've got to stop. We've got to be part of the language. All I hear is workers, 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 right? Or aged care, you know what I mean?
Just
But I don't hear
the
anything
majority
about
of
the
people
rest of
on
it.
Social Security today are working. They're just not getting enough hours, or they're part-time working mums, or, you know, so we are part of the workers as well. We are unemployed workers. We are, every woman and every parent in Australia is a worker. You know, we already fit in there, but what we do need that caveat that there is a group of people for whom paid employment is just simply going to be impossible. You know,
I've been locked out of that.
People, you know, as good as they are, the Parliament is not Jesus, and we're not, and certainly I'm not Lazarus, and I know you're not, Catherine. This whole heal thyself and walk kind of stuff is very messianic, but it doesn't help people. All it does is make people like Catherine and myself feel like we're not contributing, that we have no place in society, may as well die. And that's where the mental health and the depression sinks in and the anxiety sinks in. It's like, what's the next punitive punishment going to be?
At the moment, I'm copying it in such a way that, oh, why don't you take in ironing? It's not the 1950s, excuse my French.
Well, the electricity
right?
just doing that, the add-on cost to your electricity bill per month would just, it's like to get childcare. They basically
Who's going to teach me how to iron?
Yeah, 7 days.
Who's going to teach me how to iron first? At a commercial level, who's going to teach me how to iron?
Well, it's not.
I can't do it.
You also pay petrol to pick up and deliver ironing. So there's the electricity cost, there's the petrol cost, and all of these things. And unless you're charging through the roof for your job, you're not actually going to get any kind of sense of profit. Or not just that, you are a woman who is disabled with a terminal illness, and anyone demanding that you go out and work for anyone else's pleasure but yourself needs to get in the bin. I'm sorry. I don't
even have the motivation to do stuff for me.
You know, fuck off.
Do you know what I mean?
Capitalism is a sickness inside people's brains where you're only valued if you're capable of doing X, Y, and Z. And I think that's really horrendous. And I've watched you face that. And I'm sorry that you've had to face that kind of bullshit. In your condition, you should be doing your bucket list. You should be relaxing and you should be being cared for.
I can't afford to do anything.
But this is it.
I'm sitting here with a stripy blue screen on my TV because I can't even afford to fix my TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I
It's
said it on Twitter that these days, you know, Albo's mum would be homeless sleeping in a car, and Albo would be getting changed for school in a public toilet. That's the reality of what he
yeah,
was facing today. And
yeah.
the system is now so punitive. It is actually a creation. It is a creator of mental health problems. So we're not just
Mhm.
stripping people of their dignity and their rights, we're actually creating another mental health crisis. And because people in poverty can't access mental health care, you know, it's like, oh, Headspace 10 visits. You know, it's like, it's a circle, this constant circle where people are just shifted from goalpost to goalpost and nothing ever gets done. You know, it's very reminiscent of what's actually happened to Aboriginal communities. You know, the punitive punishments, the lack of funding, the defunding of programs that actually worked, and you know, this whole cycles of grief and mental health and addictions and all that is just, you know, it's the exact same mismanagement. You know, in that we can sort of stand in solidarity. But yeah, it's please, please, please apply for opt out. If you're out there and you're wondering whether to
Yeah.
do it, okay? Go for wellbeing or go for the exit, but just apply. Get those applications on the desk of Services Australia, because they wiped 900 applications, just wiped them, said they were withdrawn a couple of months
Yeah,
ago
because people gave up.
because people
Because
gave up,
people were too
like,
stressed out.
come back, do it again, you know.
People just didn't have the mental spoons to be able to do it all. Do you know what I mean? And they just didn't. They just gave up. Or with the original, when it took 9 months to a year to get a call back, originally, people just gave up. And
Well, look, I'm having
yeah,
this big discussion. I was actually talking to somebody today, and it wasn't till I actually went on Twitter and looked at his profile, and he's someone who supported the Northern Territory emergency response, and it's like, no. Okay. Now all his arguments suddenly make sense. It's like, I was having this discussion about what do you do with addiction that causes fetal alcohol syndrome and all of this kind of stuff. And I said, well, what do you do? Do you continue to exclude people who can't meet your expectations? Do you continue to compound the problem, or do you find creative, inventive solutions to fix it? You know, and there's not an unemployment problem in Australia right now. You know, if the government is to be believed, and it's only 3.8% of you know, unemployment, which it isn't, but we all know it isn't. But if that's
yeah,
what's to be believed, then we don't have an unemployment problem. Okay, so why are they doubling down on the punitive? You know, why are they doubling down? Why are they going back to debt collections? Why are they, you know, and all these questions come up. You know, it's we've got to keep on their toes, you know. But this discussion today has been about how do you solve problems that are endemic to society, you know, when the problems, you know, when all the solutions are punitive and damaging, you know, in the way there is, you find new solutions, you find more creative thinkers who can, you know, who can deal with problems, you know, or come up with new ideas on how to deal with them. But I'm just sick as a person on DSP. I am absolutely sick of being considered a problem in the first place. You know,
yeah,
the only support that I need from the government is that pension. I'm not an alcoholic or addict. I'm not in any other way deficient, you know, morally insufficient, or whatever else other labels they character, you know, my bad character or whatever. Being on Social Security is not a character assessment, but they've turned it into that being
yeah.
poor means you're bad. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not a bad person. I've contributed as a volunteer with, you know, I was sitting beside bedsides of people dying from HIV years ago. You know, I've done communications work, sitting from home for SES. We've done this campaign. I've done another, you know, community stuff. Then it's all contribution to community. You know, my worth hasn't been defined by a paycheck, but I still have done, you know, and even if I hadn't, you know, the fact that I exist and I'm a human being is enough, you know, and this is what we've lost sight of, you know.
Some of the comments I get, I'm not even supposed to be a human being. You know,
And yeah,
some of the
eugenics
some
is
people
sliding in the door, isn't it?
hey?
You know, the eugenics, this whole, if you're on DSP, you're unworthy of life. You know, we
Yeah, of the
on
attitudes
in
that
camp.
I've been getting. hang on. The attitude that I've been getting is I shouldn't have anywhere to live and I shouldn't have access to food. One person even told me we should all be rounded up and put in camps. I mean, that was it.
That's one of the solutions that Pauline Hanson had, was to put all the young people out in camps in the desert. And while I'm all for, getting young people, if they want to go to camps, to go out there, they're already denied so much. We were talking about that yesterday, that all the things, like I went, because I have a friend visiting from overseas shortly, and it's like I went to look at all the places that I could take her, and it's like $160 a ticket to get into an aquarium. It's $75 to go to the zoo and look at the native animals. It's like, no wonder people don't have a quality of life, because they're being shut out from access to the things that give them quality of life, experiences of life. They're being shut out. And when you're thinking in terms of DSP, that's one thing. We can, at least most of us, afford to put a roof over our head, and food in the fridge at the same time, but for somebody in a family on job seeker, it's impossible now. The life consists of ramen noodles, dumpster diving and staying home, or sharing with total strangers that you don't know, just so you're not sleeping on the street. It's like there is 0% housing that payment can actually afford. And that's actually against the UN Articles of Social and Economic thing that we're signed up to. Social security is bound to that particular economic, the ICESR or something it's called. It's a UN thing that we've ratified to pay social security in this country, and it's not meeting basic needs. And that's the primary thing under the UN, that it's supposed to meet basic needs, and it's not. Not when you've got people sleeping in their cars. It's not meeting their basic needs, and it's
I saw a video from somewhere up here in Queensland, a single mum with 5 kids sleeping at a caravan park, and her tent had collapsed and flooded. And she did a TikTok video to show how much water was in her tent. And because it was destroyed by that particular storm, everything was going in the bin. Now where do they go? Her and her 5 kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, we have the UN on board with us, Stella. The UN is opposed to digital transformation, in the sense of total digitisation of the welfare system. The UN is opposed to the cashless debit card. The UN is opposed to robo-debt and debt compliance. So basically everything that's in our current system of social security in Australia, the UN have already stated they're opposed to it. Philip Alston, if you can go and look at his videos on YouTube, Philip Alston talking about the welfare state in Australia. He's also gone to England. He's gone to America, and he's spoken out against it. He's the former special rapporteur for poverty. That's the people that you talk to. I know that Therese from Single Mothers and Children, the SNMC Council of Australia, she's been to the UN. There's the problem is when you've got a former Prime Minister saying the UN is shit, and the current Parliament, which, we have yet to see what they will actually do. But one of their first statements before they even took office was that they were, going to re-implement debt collection. These things are very concerning, that the punitive system will not change, and it has to. In order for the social aggression to stop against people on payments, government aggression against people on payments has to stop.
Absolutely. The abuse has to stop.
Leadership thing. This is something that has to be a leadership thing. We were talking the other day, Catherine and I, about, my experiences at my local hockey club. I was abused because I was a single mother, but not just because I was a single mother. I was a single mother on benefits. Right? Now, we were talking how strange it is that had I had a lotto win, all right, and was a millionaire overnight, those very same people would treat me completely differently simply for the content of my bank balance. And this, despite my child being, a state level player, I was copying the crap. Even on a pension, I was borrowing sticks from Peter and giving Paul the hockey ball. I was doing everything to keep him in sport because I knew that sport was the ticket to keep him away from arseholes and drug addicts. Because I know from my own experience, okay, lived experience of that, that he needed that, and sport became his life. Kids today can't afford to buy uniforms at sport, can't afford the sticks and gear. Just a mouthpiece is $90. Who's got $90 on JobSeeker? So if you've got kids and you've got multiple children, you're shut out and constantly shut out. And the clubs don't offer, the culture in Australia doesn't offer a pathway for children living in poverty to come in and be treated like equals. Whereas back in...
some do, like the footy things, but they'll pay the two. But you've still got to try and find money for the boots and the clothing, and it's just too hard. And then everybody knows you're poor anyway.
Once you hit state, unless you've got money, you can't go forward. So despite however good my child was, he couldn't proceed forward. Yep. And this is the way. Ask anyone who's made it to the Olympics. There's been like 2 people, I think, whose parents have been on payments that have made it to the Olympics and that's through massive GoFundMes and scholarships only.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess I'm just speaking about this kind of being shut out of life and shut out of the things that actually stop poverty from being cyclical and intergenerational, because they constantly talk about intergenerational poverty, but they never talk about how they're locking people out of the solutions, giving children life experience. Look, I know every single mother finds ways to adapt, and every single parent. We all do. I had one Christmas where all we could afford was a packet of balloons, and my son and I had Christmas Day on the beach, blowing up balloons, filling them up with, we had a ball, okay? So we make the best of things. My child never knew we were poor until he hit high school. Then he understood that, that we were poor. But, growing up, he never knew. Like all single parents, we go without food to feed them. We go without clothes, makeup, all of this stuff to make sure that they get everything. But I had EES, the education supplement for him. I had access to a pension that paid the rent. And then suddenly overnight that was clamped, when Gillard did her thing. So I lost my home, and that's when poverty started to affect us. Whereas before then we were able to sustain a basic life. I really feel for young parents on this card, and I can well imagine what that mum having her cards cancelled would have gone through, the shame and the indignity. And then having to explain to little kids why they can't do it. Karen.
And last fortnight with her as well.
Exactly. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry I'm talking a lot. Sorry, everybody. I'll shut up now. Let Catherine talk.
Yeah, so, she had the same problem last fortnight. It's funny how,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just getting me down, seeing all this homelessness around the country, right? Seeing the hardship around the country, seeing the nasty comments directed at people who were trying to raise awareness about really real things, and they're just getting hammered constantly, right? But why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why haven't you done that? All right, and this, that, and all the other, and it's
Well, it's like the card, okay, and all of the punitive current policies that we're all facing. They're based on assumptions and stereotypes. The assumptions and stereotypes don't meet out in the data. It's like with the card, most people don't waste their money. People are paying their rent. People are feeding their children and clothing their children. There's a small majority for that which struggle with doing that and might need some support, but the way to help them isn't to alienate them, isn't to take away their power and their self-determination and their capacity to rob Peter to pay Paul every month, to get through on the hard weeks, and to assume that they are wasting it on things that aren't important. It's like sometimes that packet of balloon is the difference between joy and despair. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, can't judge. You know, I went on your TikTok the other day and I said, you know, go buy the sex toy, go get the haircut. If it keeps you alive today and gets you through another week to your next payment, then you go and damn well do it. And you don't let anyone shame you. If you need it, go and get it if you can afford it. You know, it's like, don't let anyone tell you what you should. There are no ought tos and shoulds in this, okay? You know what you've got to do. And people need to start giving people on payments the credit that they deserve for actually surviving on payments and having any kind of a life on a payment. You know, we are some of the most resilient, creative, adaptive, amazing people with lived experience and knowledge beyond what most, you know, university professors who have just sat in school all day will ever know.
That's true.
You know, so it's like your lived experience is your superpower. And that's why we try to encourage cardholders, especially, your lived experience is your superpower. Share it. You know, don't be shamed into silence, you know.
Use it.
We're really hoping that ending the CDC, which we already know it has, changed the attitude towards basics cards as well. So that will have a knock-on effect that will impact Aboriginal communities going forward into the next decade, you know. So it's like, while we don't speak for Aboriginal communities directly, the reality is our fight has had a wider impact than even most of our members here know. You know, and it's really important when those instruments come up in October that there is a lot of attention paid to the basics card as well, because that was the ground level for the CDC, you know. And while I said, you know, it's a BB gun compared to the, you know, Tsar Bomba, you know, CDC was a far more nefarious program of abuse than basics ever was. The implementation of basics was the horror. And they tried to repeat that again with the CDC. Same excuses, same lies, same stereotypes and assumptions, and the same fraud, you know, because we're not all drug addicts, alcoholics and abusers. And those of us that are need help, love, support and inclusion and, you know, love, support, compassion and inclusion. We don't need, you know, our rights and our freedoms and the very things that help us make better choices taken away. And when you take someone's rights away under income management, people don't have to think anymore. Government's doing it all. Government, it's over, government thinks. And this is what Professor Bray found. The people just gave up. People gave up and just went, fuck it, let government take control then. And so they lose the capacity to make choices for themselves because they just don't see any point in continuing to try to, because every time they do, government steps in and makes decisions for them. So listening. This is why the voice to Parliament is so important, because it's very different from having politicians in the political apparatus. You know, the voice to Parliament is about recognising the sovereignty of people that politic, you know, of the land that politic actually operates on. So, you know, it's all, you know, and I think it's going to be amazing. The next 3 years are going to be pretty amazing. We just have to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing from the bottom up.
Yep.
And there's a lot to look forward to, but we got to hold them accountable. Bill Shorten's got me scratching my head at the moment and a few other things, but, you know, hopefully a bill will come out this sitting, okay? And if it does, we'll write about it, we'll tell you about it, all right? But I'm not holding my breath. I'm not, because I know you would just have to wait and see. You know, we're in the same position as everyone else now. No foot inside the door anymore. So
the card will go no matter what, okay? It's if I see somebody go, oh, but it's gone, and dismiss and make those 16 or 17 people visible.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's like, it's far from gone, but it's getting there.
It was very good today to see that Sue Lines, one of the earliest ALP supporters of anti-card and anti-basic, has been made President of the Senate, which is really good.
Yeah.
And we have Mr. Dick is the Speaker of the House. So this is there's a load of content there. You can see it's coming.
On Julian's page, on
Cartoon.
Julian Hill's page, right? He put up a picture of the, like they had a green ballot paper, and all that Julian wrote on the bottom was Dick in big letters. And I thought, oh my God, this is
He's actually a good bloke, I have to say. You know, he is well. The statements about him are pretty correct. Like, you know, he's well respected on both sides of the house. He's older guard, so he's got some experience. And you do need, with such a young parliament, like, there's so many first timers, you know. I can't believe how many first timers there were. But it's like, you know, with such a young parliament, you need older hands to take positions. And I'm not calling Sue old, in case she's listening. But Sue Lyons, her passion and her compassion and her capacity as a senator is everything you want in a senator. You know, she doesn't take, you know, no shit, but she's you know, she's definitely someone you want, you know, sort of pulling the reins and pulling people up. And, you know, I know she's good because there are things that she does I don't agree with, but I am compelled to respect them anyway because she's right. You know, so she
hang on, Amanda.
My left side.
Grace, we will be placing the link in the group.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course. We'll find a way to do it because, yeah.
Well, I think that the cashless debit card as an issue, socially at least, made a huge impact. We've been told by ALP members that the card was a major issue in election outcomes. So we knew that there were a lot of very frightened people, and people should have been frightened. It's what NLP had planned for the CDC was nothing short of horrific. You know, nationwide rollout. We had that confirmed by people inside Inju as well as everywhere else. And age pension had been included for the first time in the Act. So we knew that through the whole of this process has been incremental. Like tiny bit here, then they take a mile there, tiny bit here, and they take a mile there. Yep. Like every time they've added one tiny thing, and for one group of people, it's ended up for everybody. You know, Hinkler would have been all ages, all payments on the card eventually. They would have kept Hinkler to the very last. But, you know, the reality is there are already 700 age pensioners on basics cards, forced income management. So Liberal parties and the politicians already were quite comfortable with putting age pensioners. It was our campaign against that, and that was born from the information card holders were giving us about how bad CDC was just to function on a daily basis. The horror of the majority of age pensioners who were already struggling on payments as it is, having to find the complexity of the CDC program on top of that. You know, it was just horrific. The thought that there was, you know, the reason we knew they were going after before they even put age pension in was because it's a simple math issue. You know, nearly a third of the entire social security spend is on age pension, and that's far too lucrative when you're talking about privatisation to let that go. So it was common sense they'd be going after age pension, but when they did, I was sincerely shocked. I didn't think they would be so bold about it. And they limited it to one little group of Aboriginals way up there in the corner. But it didn't matter that it was just them at the moment because it was in the Act that it was a mandatory program. And it means it's only a matter of time, 1, 2, 3 or 4 years before everyone on age pension would be on it as well. Because when you let something pass, and this is what Australia has to learn the lesson of this whole experience, all right? All of yous out there, mob and not mob. All right. Everyone in Australia sat back and watched what happened in 2006 and did nothing. Said nothing. Yeah. Didn't go, that's wrong to take their rights away like that. You know, and left Aboriginal communities to fight on their own without support or with very limited support in the white community. I know because I was one of the people from the white community and I got told to go F myself from other members of the white community. We also had both sides of government supporting that as a bipartisan thing. So it was really hard. There was no ground to fight on. Like, that's why I took up this campaign with Catherine, because I knew it would be a doorway to axing that and to finding some justice for. But we have to learn the lesson. We let it happen to one tiny group of people one way, and then within a short space of time, bang, it's everybody. All right? That's the lesson of this. If you don't stand up for those people over there you don't know and don't particularly like, all right, then it can happen to you too. And I think that is
another way to look at it too.
Whole experience. And if people haven't got that yet, they need to start getting it.
Another way to look at it too. Look at the way refugees are treated. And if you think your government can get away with treating refugees like that, they're going to treat you like that.
Yeah, well, it's also, it's also, I know it sounds really hard, but it's also the people we do hate. People like anti-vaxxers and liberal voters and One Nation people. Like we're free to hate or not as we like. But if those people start losing their right and their right to a voice, and we have to examine that from an honest perspective, and we have to stand in solidarity with people who are fighting for their basic rights. Now, I'm not giving credence to the anti-vax argument, because when you do examine it, you see it's not about basic human rights. But I'm talking about other groups that we might not like who do have a right to speak. Like, the fact that Jacinta Price is sitting in the Senate right now does not make me a happy girl, okay? No. I've come up against that woman so many times in the last 10 years, 15 years. But it's like, before her mother as well, I was, fighting against her mother. So it's like, the fact she's there makes me incensed, especially because she only got 21,000 votes. But the reality is she's now a senator, and she has the right to be there, whether I like it or not. And she's going to have a big impact on the Senate as it moves forward, And so, I don't particularly like her, but I have to accept that she was put into the Senate. We have to accept some things and defend the right of that person to be there. As much as I don't like her, I have to accept that she's there and she has a right to be there. So it's like we do have to swallow some things sometimes, but it's like it's this othering, it doesn't impact me, so I'm not going to act on it, that we have to stop. Yeah. It does impact, because what we've seen with CDC is that one little group of people, and then it was suddenly 30,000 groups of people got put on it. Then it's like, and everyone just let it go. Everyone ignored it until it was in their backyard. And that was our job. That was Kath and my's job, to bring this right to your front yard and stick it in your faces. This is what we did. That was what we did. I was talking to Arnie Sue, I think, about just that. My job's to make all the white people angry, to realise how close the same conditions that we have allowed to be imposed on other people are just about to catch up, karma, that to catch up and catch us on the backside. Because what we let pass leads to atrocities, and that's what they saw in Germany. Myers, I posted it to say 7 years ago. They thought they were free. It's from the Holocaust. It's because the people didn't stand up at the universities and say that's wrong. The people in the playgrounds didn't say that's wrong when people started getting called Joey, you Jew. It's the same process, and it's a human process. I'm not even going to call it Nazi. It's just humans. It's what we do. We other and we ignore our responsibilities to one another. So when you hear and you see disparaged groups of people being attacked, don't do the whole fucking it's not going to impact me, because it bloody well will. Everything they did to Aboriginal people and refugees, they've done to us in people in poverty. And then they started going after unions. And then they started, so it was only a step then from unions to fully employed and paid workers as well. So it's like, that's how society's turned fascist. And while we exist in a state of capitalism, fascism is its bedfellow. Like, fascism and capitalism are married, because, one is capitalism is the pretty face of fascism. And, we just, we have to be responsible with each other and for each other. You want a community, then you have to build one. You know, I'm sorry, and I'm going off on tangents again. Oh no! But if you want a really good TikToker too, what is it? That Lefty Down Under guy, or whatever. He's really good.
Leftist up down under, yeah.
He's a really good orator. He puts things very simply. Yeah, I don't describe myself as a leftist or rightist because I'm a whole bird kind of person. You know, I'm not the wings, I'm not the brain, I'm not the body, I'm all the whole kind of bird. Because, you know, some things from the left and some things from the right make sense. Some things from the middle make sense. And at different times, none of the things from any side make sense. But so I can't sort of sit in any particular camp and say I'm a this, because I'm a human and I operate from a very human-based perspective. What works? You know, the Australian parliamentary system isn't British. It's British, Swedish, and a bit Spanish as well. You know, so we've got multiple. The way we run our parliament is quite unique compared to all the other mono-cultured parliaments in the world. And it's what's protected us from what's happening in America, you know, and it's what stopped Scott Morrison. You know, it's what stopped us from becoming Tory England. But we have influencers pushing here, trying to get in here and to foothold experiences of them, but we've never turned fully into them. And if nothing else, Australians are willing to change. And you see that by what's happened over this last election, willing to change. And now we're seeing how hollow the right wing was while it was in Parliament. While those fascists were in Parliament, we're seeing how hollow and how empty it was and how close to disaster this country really was. We tried to warn people, say we're at a cliff, and people are going, no, we're not. We're not at a cliff. The sun's still shining. I can still buy bread. We're not near a cliff. It's like, oh shit, we were so close to a cliff. We really did dodge a bullet. And people go, no, we didn't. I was like, yes, we did. And when you're fully informed of the political state of this country and the social state of this country, yes, we really did dodge a bullet. So here's to the 47th. And here's to getting rid of this fucking card. Catherine,
I'll get there.
But we will be fundraising to get Catherine to Canberra if the Senate vote's called, okay? So expect some hotspot immediate. We need funds to get Catherine there. I can drive there, but Catherine needs to get tickets to get there because we want to be there when it goes to Senate, okay? And, you know, we'll try and hit the AO. We'll try and hit all of our political contacts up for support as well. But I think that if anyone needs to be there on the day that they end that fucking program, then it's Catherine. And if you agree with me, give us some support on that day. I'll be fine. Just get Catherine there, you know. So, yeah. But, yeah, here's hoping, guys. Hope does live, you know. Hope for a 41 to 35 vote, our favour, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't email me. Email Amanda Rishworth. I'm not Amanda. Email me. We've got 4 Amandas. We've got Amanda Tesla sharing, myself, Amanda Rishworth, and who's the other Amanda? There's another Amanda as well. There's a Amanda as well. We've got Amanda's coming out the bumhole now. Oh dear.
Mm-hmm. Oh dear.
Yeah, it's, but yeah, let's put it this way: if we can't get enough to get if we can't get enough to get tickets, then yeah, get Catherine a new telly. That'd be something. But look, we're very careful when we fundraise here. We usually only do it for CDC stuff. But Catherine does have a GoFundMe on her TikTok. You can go find it, or on her personal page. Okay, but on this page, we fundraise for CDC things. Okay, so it's for tickets, and then whatever happens, happens.
Anything else? Send me a message person.
Shit. Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, we were pretty pissed off with that guy. Is that a Sufi Suf I see? Hello, Sufi. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling back through the comments. Hi, Tim. The butterfly effect. Yes, Tim. People think that's a joke. It's like, no, it's not. You know, it's like, this is why we need to look at countries like Sri Lanka right now to see the end stage of capitalism that we're all facing. And when you see those kids getting frog marched by police out of Parliament today, the Tomorrow Movement kids, they are friggin' fantastic. Please go and give them a follow and give them a support. They are the voice of the next generation. They are formed and forming, and they are powerful, and they are an amazing bunch of kids who know their stuff. They know
Yeah.
everything there is to know about climate change and climate preparedness, and they're demanding, they're going to take it to government this year. And I can personally completely stand with them. Like, you know, but yeah, it's like you see them getting frog marched out of there today on the opening day of Parliament. That was really bad. But it made the point that then, you know, and the kids all, what they were yelling, you will be known in history for your actions in that Parliament.
We will remember you.
Mm-hmm.
Which side do you stand? Do you stand with us, or do you stand with the wealthy few? Was their song?
Well, this is it. It's like, you know, ALP and Greens and all of these, you know, so what was a perfect headline today. While ALP finds its hearts and the Greens find their brains, perhaps everybody needs to find some courage. Isn't that a brilliant statement? If both of these parties can actually find the courage to do what's right and necessary, that, you know, even at the expense, if it will be, of political, you know, what do you call it, political capital. The reality is you've got to do what is right rather than what's popular. And that goes from social security. Like what we're seeing with social security is an impact of the changing climate and the pressures brought to bear about climate change as much as anything else. So we've got skin in this. If you're on a payment right now, you've got skin in the climate debate. Okay, so because you're going to be one of the first people to experience the unpreparedness of our governments to face that new reality. So, you know, look at Sri Lanka. Okay, look at Argentina. Look at these places who have had to rebuild and are trying to rebuild in chaos. You know, we don't want that, then we need to act now and be responsible for ourselves and our region. But that's my bloody soapboxing it tonight, eh?
You are.
I've just watched Parliament all day, and I'm watching these new people with their shiny eyes, and I'm thinking they're all going to be out at cafes and having a drink tonight, not realising they've got to get up at 6 a.m. and start all over again. Now the work really begins, you know, and it's got to be, you know, I'm all for civil. I'm all for everyone working together for the best outcome, but we should never drop people. You know, I'm going to hold Anthony to his line that leave no one behind, because right now, you know, we've got CDC, we've got Job Seeker, we've got Parents Next, and all of these punitive programs that are specifically designed to leave people behind, you know. So JSAs need to go. I've got a list. I've got a whole list of things that need to change. But there are better speakers, like the Anti-Poverty Centre, speaking about Job Seeker, Break the Poverty Machine, living incomes for everyone. There are groups out there, the Tomorrow Movement. So CDC Australia doesn't have to be a platform for all of those things, but we can at least tell you that those groups are out there and you should go and start supporting them. Because if you've got energy to spare after the last 7 years of this fight, then don't let it go to waste. Keep staying politically active and alert. I posted the other day, Catherine, all the links to senators, all the phone numbers are on the page now, everything.
Yep.
Now you're awake and active, don't go back to sleep. It's taken 7 years to get people awake and active. Please don't go back to sleep. Now more than ever, we all need you, especially people who can't stand up for themselves, you know, and that's what we stood for, because we knew that cardholders were being silenced. We knew that cardholders were being railroaded into silence in communities like Ceduna and being threatened in almost every site. You know, we knew that these people couldn't stand up for themselves. So the 7 of us stood up, you know, and it only took 7, and look at us. We helped change a government. We helped change the policy that was ultimately a multi-billion-dollar policy. So it's like, you know, you did that. You guys out there, as much as everybody else, you did that.
Yep.
So take that and keep running. Do the Doctor Who. Run! Get out there. Mm.
Oh dear. All right. Well, I might.
I'm not Amanda. I'm not Amanda, but I'm glad. Distance is fun. Maybe he'll get monkeypox or something. He always was on holiday anyway. Oh, yeah. Look, I'm not saying you have to be nice. You have to like people.
That's somebody talking about Morrison, by the way.
You have to admit when somebody's right and you're wrong, whether you like them or not. That's, I think, part of the integrity. There are things I've had to admit that was right, that's wrong. You know, that's
Yeah.
right. And you know, but Scott Morrison, nah, there's nothing right there, darling. Nothing right there at all. The fact him and Barnaby Joyce didn't show up today, all right, says their egos came first, which they always
Oh
did.
my God.
Their egos came first the entire time they were in office, and it's still happening today. The Liberal Party have learnt nothing. Nothing. You know,
That's
and
disgusting.
the fact that they weren't in weeks of exploitation and working only getting minimum wage hard enough, let alone doing it half the pay. Yep. Well, Leanne, so have you. Every time you've tweeted Leanne says that we've saved lives. Just like there are some we've directly, supported that, yes, we could say we've done our bit, but every person that's reposted, retweeted, shared a story, stood up in their
That's
local
not-
community, bought a shirt. If you bought a
Yeah.
shirt and if you actually wore it outside in public, if you sent in a selfie, if you emailed a senator, if you, we had like 5 different petitions over the last 7 years, and they went from like 300 and to 1,000, then up to 17.5 thousand. The last one was, plus the 55,000, 60,000 or so that Justine's petition got. All right, if you've signed those things, you've done that. That's political activism. You don't have to be, like. You don't have to have gorgeous dreads and hairy armpits to be an activist. And this is what politicians, it's great if you do. I'm all for hairy armpits and dreads myself. But it's a case of, this is what politicians need to be aware of, that the activist could be, their local baker. We all should be activists. We all should be actively engaged in our democracy, yeah? Because going to sleep gave us the Liberal Party.
That's right.
Staying asleep for as long as we did through 2 freaking elections of that party, all right, and not understanding that our lives are interwoven and the outcomes for one impact the outcomes of everyone, all right, nearly pushed us off a cliff that there is no coming back from. The only way out of a fascist takeover is total war, and we all lose.
Yeah.
But all around the world, have you noticed? Have you been watching? Trump's gone. Boris is gone. ScoMo's gone. That guy in India that's the right-wing head of India, he's going. People are rising up. All around the world, that extreme fascist edge that only 100 years or so ago would have taken over the world again is slowly being pushed back to bed because people remembered history. People stood up and said, I'm not going to be ashamed. And bitches like me stood up and said, oh, fuck you, you're not. And this is what, excuse my language, but that's it. You've got to put your foot down. Here's the line and say, no, this is it. I'm not moving. You move. And this is what I saw those kids doing today. And it was like, oh, yeah, if we embrace that instead of attacking it, we embrace these kids and we give them the power to make significant change, they will. They will, and grown-ups should listen to wise children, Not all children are wise, but those that are, who know, we've got to embrace them, and it's their planet. We'll be gone. They'll be still living on it, and so will their kids.
That's right.
So, we've done good, but there's lots more to do, But for us, in this page, for my page, we have a commitment to ending this card and making sure that basics goes voluntary. We have a commitment. It's a 2-fold commitment, but ending the CDC is the main goal, and then keeping that pressure on ALP to end compulsory income management, to make income management the tool it was supposed to be for people who want it, You know, it was supposed to be like Centre Pay, but better. It was supposed to come with wraparound services that actually wanted you in the room and actually supported you instead of condemning you. Not a JSA who thought, no, you're a capitalist slave, go out and work, and that's the only way to support you. You know, we need, we used to have family services, and we have some left, not many. My life was saved by a woman from family services in Byron, and actually in Ballina, sorry. One woman, Margaret Siddell, if she's ever out there, you know, would visit me at my home once a week. And just having her coming to my home once a week enabled me to sort of pinwheel around her visits and stabilise my life. A woman took me in when I was 14 and way too pregnant, and she helped me. So every way along the way, one person has been there. And so we need this. We need to bring our family services back so people can have access to that one person that they need to get their lives back into gear when they don't have it. For the rest of us, we just need to be left alone, given a dignity payment, all right, and allowed to live our lives.
Yeah,
you know? It's like we do recover, and people don't hear that message. People who are in the throes of addiction don't hear it because it's punish, 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 instead of, hey, you can recover. You can get well, and you can become part of the community again on your terms, no one else's. You know, I'm 27 years sober and clean. It's possible to do. You know, you can get well. And communities can repair and heal. You know, I'm watching all over this renaissance of the titters and the aunties that are taking control again over communities that happened just prior to Enter, and it was their voices were slammed shut during Enter, and this rising has just started happening again. We need that everywhere. We need to follow that example. Women need to come together, men need to come together, and we need to make our communities again, because that's what they've stripped. That's what all this punitive punishment has stripped from us. Community, this sense of belonging. Not self-righteous, preachy communities, just togethering. Does that make sense? Togethering? You know, being able to together. And I'm hoping that this Parliament will help foster a sense of that. And the way Anthony's talking about, you know, unity and bringing people together, that's the way I see it as well. We need to all socially make that change as well, you know, because the damage of the Liberal Party is what you're facing now on TikTok, Catherine.
Yeah, I know. Yep, and it's driving me nuts.
Self-entitled hyper-individualists who think they can survive without the collective. It's like, keep going. There's a line, and eventually that leash that they're on gets yanked. You know, everybody at some point is going to need help and support. At some point,
that's what they want.
Anne Rind, okay, it was, you know, the most hyper-individualist of them all, needed an age pension in her old age when her husband died and left her penniless. So the mother of hyper-individualism still needed an aged care pension from the state.
Yeah.
You know, so there's the reality of it. Inevitably, you will need help. Make sure today that there'll be help there for people, that even those people. Those. You know, I don't know. I'm sorry. Tim's going, back in the day, you'd go to a barbecue as an unemployed and people would say, don't worry, find something. Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Now, but I can remember when neighbours didn't worry about if your neighbour next door was unemployed, they were invited to the barbecue anyway.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, ooh, the bloods are next door. You know what I mean? No.
Estelle.
It is divided.
Yeah, Estelle.
Estelle
says, sadly, it's about cruelty and abuse or making money. If you don't earn the money, you suffer the abuse of others. That is only true, and it is true currently. I can say that culturally and socially in Australia, that is true. But that will only stay true so long as people accept that it's true. Okay, I'm already seeing communities in here in Victoria. There's lots of intentional communities being built, but also through our markets, like we have farmers markets and things like that. Different forms of community are being developed. We have kitchens all over Victoria that are pay what you need, what you can. and take what you
Yeah.
need. The books, you'll drive across Victoria and you'll see people with book libraries out the front of their homes, or you'll see big square things with lots of groceries packed into them, and it's take what you need.
Yeah.
Food is free, so we've got people growing food on their front verge, not caring who takes it, whether that person's a millionaire or person's on the dole. Nobody cares because the food is free. Okay, this is what we need more of. You know, if there is a balance between individual responsibility and collective responsibility, but there's also this, you know, you've got a right to live and you've got a right to eat. You've got a right to a house. These are human rights, and you don't need to earn those. You shouldn't need to earn those. You know, you shouldn't have to produce to earn those. The very fact you're a human being on this planet right now should be enough. And while that's a dream of the far future, it's not going to get any closer if we don't start working towards those kind of things now. You know, and I'm watching it happen. Slowly but slowly, people are just going, no thanks, I don't believe you. I don't believe that lie. I don't believe it's all about money. I don't believe it's all about cruelty. I'm going to offer all the produce of my garden out the back fence. I'm going to offer it at the front gate, or, you know, I'm just going to give it away to the local food, you know, the local people that take food vans out every night, you know. And if it, you know, it's like people got on for millennia through sharing alone. That's one of the biggest things that's been maligned in Aboriginal communities, this family sharing thing. There's problems with it. There's nothing ever hasn't got its problems, but with, you know, it's completely possible just to share things, you know. If I don't need it anymore and you do, here you go. You know, we all share our clothes, so they're hand-me-downs through our families, and then we give them all away to Goodwill and things like this. Well, the same can happen with food and appliances and stuff, and people don't need to believe and act on that belief of that lie that's being fed to us, that it has to be cruel and it has to be about money. You know, I'm sorry. We proved that. We proved that here. We've done this whole campaign with no money. Except to airfares to get to Canberra, we have done it. We haven't had, you know, like Raise the Rates had tens of thousands of dollars thrown at it. All the ones that have had lots of money thrown at it haven't gone anywhere. But I can't say that actually, because it has made good ground. But, you know, we've done this whole campaign with nothing. With people's skill, giving of their time, which is the most valuable thing you can give anyone, is your time.
Yeah,
you know?
and what we've had from people to help us keep going is you know, it's just kept us going. It's like Amanda said, we didn't get the funding that Raise the Rate had, but we had to rely on people here to do what they could for us to get us to where we were going, transport, you know, and
Absolutely.
keep it going.
It's a welfare payment. So's franking credits. So's the $69 billion a year, all right, that's getting paid out in corporate welfare. The current government is still having, because of contracts and agreements, giving out $22,000 a minute to gold, gas and mining. That's welfare. It's coming out of the taxpayers' funds, and they're not doing anything for it. You know, whereas we're meeting a mutual obligation. Those people aren't. They're taking the profits of their industry, and that profit's going overseas.
Yeah.
You know, and the profits, any profits that are staying in Australia, like through Minderoo, say, from forest stuff, is all conditional. It's not being given back unconditionally. It's not being given back to government in gratuitous payments or that. It's going back with conditions attached. Yeah, and it's going back into his own charity, so he gets it all back in taxation and offsets.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
He's not giving anything back. And this is how they do it. This is like Mobil, Exxon haven't paid a stink of freaking tax in Australia. There's so many companies that are earning billions in profits, and we're not seeing a cent of tax, you know? So it's like you pay as a Centrelink recipient, you pay more money and tax than they do. Every time you spend at a local shop, you're paying a tax. Every time you fill up your car, you're paying fuel excise and fuel tax. Every time you sell your house or sell a car or whatever, you're paying transfer fees and taxes. Okay? We pay every tax, and even most of us are paying some kind of income tax. You know, a lot of people are having tax taken off their payments as well. You know, it's like, it's a case of, you know, the whole it's my taxpayer dollars is absolutely bullshit.
Well,
We give back from $189 billion spending, we give back $750 billion in economic value. That's using
right.
the RBA's form, okay, of 5 by 5. That's what we give back to the community. And for that, what do we cop? Slaps in the face, spat on the street, excluded, denuded of dignity. Okay, it's like bullshit. If we're going to be giving the community $750 billion back, we've earned our respect as equals, equal contributors, not just in our social value of what we contribute to our communities as a member of our communities, but in our economic contribution as well. Every time the government runs into trouble economically, they bolster our payments with these one-off payments and bonuses because they know we are the economic stabiliser.
Yeah.
Okay? We are the economic stabilisers, and they know that. They know that. But, you know, it's like ALP wants to expand the economy, raise the JobKeeper rate. There's your economy. That $30 billion will create 90 to 120 billion a year in economic value. All right? Going by the 555 rule. It pays for itself. You know? And it's like, it's frustrating that they're not doing that yet. But we hope to see change. Not in this budget, because they've already come out completely. They've been upfront and said, not in this budget. All right? But there's another budget. There's the MEFY or whatever it is, comes out in December.
The end of the year.
Okay? That's when I hope to see some movement on JobKeeper. You know,
Job seeker.
Well, age pension and DSP are pretty much on the same level. So I expect as far as triage goes that any increase in payments will go to job seekers. It has to. They can't eat. You know, they can't eat. 42% below the poverty line. It's not okay. All right. You know, it's like we're sitting around 4-5% up to 14% below the poverty line on DSP. They're sitting 42%. So you triage. I don't want to hear people going, oh, they should raise all these payments too. It's like they should raise all of them. But it's triaging. Triaging in this economy without blowing inflation means, you know, go to those who need the support the most. And the ones that need the support the most are people on JobKeeper.
Job seeker.
Fuck me. Sorry. Look, I have to actually go because I've got my lovelies calling. So, yeah. If you didn't know, I'm supposed to be going on not vacation. Yeah, well, a Facebook vacation in 2 weeks' time. So they've got 2 weeks to pass this scam bill. What's my chance?
All right, well, I'm going.
Yeah, I'll enjoy the 11 billion. That'd be nice. Okay. Well, look, thank you for having me on. I'm sorry I'm so talkative. I'm hyperactive. It's all weird being down here and so far away from up there. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to soapbox a bit tonight. And again, I will I will talk to you all soon, and hope when the bill comes out, I will do some writing and then I will do a video, okay? So that everyone is on the same page with where they're going, because we'll know by what the contents of the bill are what they're planning to do with IM. I don't want people getting confused with IM basics. IM is a different form as well. You've got IM, income management basics, and CDC. They are three separate things. Don't panic if you see all of them whooshed in around on the bill, which I'm expecting there'll be a lot of confusion. You know, they could keep it simple, but I doubt it. It's ALP. So it's a very human bill, I think. You know, it'll be a very human bill. So when it does come, and it will come, you know, let's just keep the positive vibes that it comes this sitting. All right. We'll definitely put it on the page. We'll definitely, you know, break it down, and we'll have a better idea of where they're going longer term with income management and basics as well, which is really still very important to us. But it's like obviously our first and foremost priority is stopping the CDC first. So as long as it does that, that's what we'll do. So I will leave you with that and say good night. Okay. I'm sorry that I've talked so much, but thank you for giving me a chance to chat, Catherine. Much
No
appreciated.
worries.
And I'd like to formally apologise to Justine Elliott and Tom and everyone else that I've insulted or derided in the last couple of months. Those
Or
who
screamed at.
haven't deserved it, as much as those who have deserved it, because it's not like me to allow my stress levels to get that high that I was, yeah. It was just, we were all in the middle of an absolute shitstorm. And yeah, so we're only human, right, Kath?
That's right.
We're only
Yep.
human. All right. Well, you take good care. Bye, everybody.
Okay. No, no.
Night night.
See ya. Oh, wow. All right, people. I'm gonna call it a night, and I think Amanda covered it all. Okay, yeah. So if anybody wants to help me out, send me a message privately. We'll let you guys know if we need to fundraise an airfare for me to get down to Canberra and a couple of nights accommodation, because it's usually a in night, spend the day, overnight, out the next morning job with Canberra, because it's like I've got to go from Hervey Bay to Sydney to Canberra. It's long-winded flying to Canberra. So yeah, we'll let you know if that's needed as soon as we find out. And if anybody wants to help me out with stuff, as I said, just personally email me, send a message in the inbox, or just personally message me. We'll keep it off the page. And yeah, I'll say goodnight to everybody. Thank you to everybody. Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I have been trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled. It has taken an impact on my mental health recently. And I'm trying to deal with that. And yeah, at the moment I'm at, you know, yeah, we'll work it out. But uh, Amanda said to me a couple of days ago, I need to go and sit myself in the shower and just cry and let it all out. Let the last 7 years out. I'm this close. Trust me, it's not going to take much for me to just poof, you know. But I've been feeling this way, and it's been getting worse. And other couple of personal things in my life have really made me feel a bit bad too. And yeah, and I just anyway, thanks to everybody here who supports myself and my team and keeps us going. My online family keep me sane and keep me present. Do you know what I mean? And I know that there's a lot of people out there that support me and look after me, and I really do appreciate it. But yeah, I'm just feeling probably overwhelmed with all the shit that's been going on, and what I see all the time, and then I see more people being harassed and bullied, and I'm one of these people. I'll go in and go after the bully there as well. For my friends that are on TikTok that are copying it, and it's not just in this country. I came across a TikTok creator, and she copped the same as me. Oh, the difference was she had her hair done and makeup done, which I can't afford to do. I could really do with some makeup cover up my spots, hey. But no, I'm only kidding. I don't wear makeup. That makes spots worse. But because she was a younger person and she had her hair dyed and she had makeup on and looked presentable, right? People were having to go, oh, well, you can have your hair done and your makeup and you can make TikTok videos, so therefore you can work. I mean, the ludicrous crap we cop on TikTok is unbelievable. And I've had it as well. Oh, but you can sit there and make TikTok videos. You know, TikTok videos can be as short as 15 seconds, and you're doing it the same way as I'm doing this on my phone, right? Well, you know, oh, look, people have just worn me down in the last couple of months. Negative people, and I'm trying to keep them out the way. I'm trying to get myself back up off the floor. So, I don't want dreads. I just want it coloured. That's all. Not dreads, Sue. I need to get a decent haircut again because it's gone stupid, and I just like a colour. That's all. But I can't even decide on that at the moment. I'm so tired. I'm so indecisive. God, see, indecisive with stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I need a Doctor Who, not so much Doctor Who, Tim. I need a Star Trek run. That's what. All 10 movies in a row. Oh dear. Oh, look. Anyway, guys, I'll say good night. Take care, everybody. Keep warm wherever you are. Stay safe. If you're on the card, make sure you do your opt-outs. If you're having big problems with Services Australia or the card, send emails to Justine Elliott or Amanda Richworth. Post your stories on the pages here or send us your stories. Yell it to the bloody moon and back. Do you know what I mean? Use your power, use your voice. And the card will be gone soon. That's all I can say. And yeah, I think if anybody says, oh, it's gone one more time to me, I'm gonna but no. All right, people. I'll say good night and take care. See ya.